Hey guys, welcome to Nate and Greg's World. We're here today with a good buddy of ours, Jason from the Evil Von Scary Show. And today we're going to be talking about Corona conspiracies. There's a lot of shit going on out there, a lot of misinformation, a lot of stories that are going on talking about the coronavirus. Is this person involved here? Are these people involved there? So we're going to hit in on some of those there. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon down below to stay up to date with us. And make sure you check us out on all of our other platforms. So, yeah, let's get going with this. Jay, how's it going today?
Oh, we're doing all right. Everybody's happy and healthy, adding on a few extra pounds there from sitting around and eating during the lockdown here. So.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Wow. So,
well,
Nate, you had some questions for Jay?
Well, I want to get right into this because there's so many conspiracy theories out there right now, or theories going on about the coronavirus, where it came from. You know, was it started actually in that wet market in Wuhan? I know now it's back in the news where a lot of top medical people, scientists are saying that it is quite possible it came from that laboratory in Wuhan where they do all those testings. And they're linking it to the fact that they do the testing on the bats there in that area. It's a way that China wants to destroy the economy right now, or the 1% of the 1% feel that it's now time to have a crash in the economy. All these conspiracy theories, I guess. I mean, you're the expert. I don't know what you've heard, what you've dug into, what you've seen. Where can you start? Where's the best place to start?
Okay, sure. Yeah, we could start with that and then bash it out, deconstruct it, unpack that pack there, and then with the laboratory, that's kind of okay. It started off that way, sort of, with people saying, "Oh, it started off at one of the bio research labs at Wuhan." It's since been proven, though, through I can't remember the exact name of the process, but where they look at the DNA of the virus and they could break that down, and so they've broken that down and they've said, well, no, it's not man-made. So I guess there's telltale signs in the DNA sequence where they can see that if it's man-made or not, and they're not seeing that.
Right.
So, but yes, there was or is like a infectious diseases research center in Wuhan, and they have had bad practices in the past where it's raised the alarm bells. But from what I could find on that one is that so far from the research of DNA, breaking it down and everything, they said, no, it's not man-made. Because the other thing, too, is there's so much misinformation coming out from the Chinese as well as the Americans and the other governments that are, because they want their pound of flesh, right? Like they're pissed off. The Chinese screwed this up. A lot of people got sick. Everybody lost a lot of money. And, everybody wants their pound of flesh now.
Right. But how do you see that? I mean, I hear that people are pissed off at China, all that stuff. But with it being a virus, how do you put that on a country? Is it because people were allowed to travel? Because I know the numbers were somewhere around 4,000 people traveled from Wuhan area to the US and Canada after the first outbreak or first started. Is that where it's coming from? Were they saying China should have never allowed those people to leave at that time? Should have said something earlier?
No. Like
I'm asking because, like we get flus here all the time in cold and different things, right? But we don't get stopped from getting on a plane or going somewhere, and the world's not ready to rip us apart over it. So what is where's the blame that people are getting so angry with China about it?
Well, to me, I think it's mostly in their farming and their animal practices and things like that, like with their that bloody Wuhan meat market there, or what they call the wet market.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Like if you had something like that, even remotely like that in any Western country, people be firebombing it in protest. Like it's just disgusting. Like they like you got like any kind of like anything from koala bears to snakes to dogs and cats and just all sorts of stuff that we wouldn't even remotely consider as a meat animal here, or in most countries, that they're doing it for their witch doctor voodoo medicine and things like that. And because like somebody says, oh well, this certain armadillo thing can cure arthritis, and then they're killing that and eating it. And I think it's, from everything I could find, I think it's animal to human transmission, and it comes from that market.
Right, right. So you don't think there's any major conspiracies as far as government involvement, stuff like that going
Oh,
on?
sure. There's tons of conspiracies. Like the biggest conspiracy to start with the whole thing was China trying to hide it. Like there's a concept that we don't really have. Like we have it here, but it's not enshrined in our culture in the West, and it's called saving face. And it's very, very, like, we have it to a certain degree, but it's much so more ingrained in China and other Asian cultures that saving face is paramount. Like you do everything you can not to embarrass the other person. And in this case with China, the entire idea that their government is benevolent and in control and infallible is more important than 10, 20, 30, even 100,000 people losing their lives.
Right, right.
And then that's the biggest part of the conspiracy to start with, is just China and their effort, the Chinese, I should say China, but like the Chinese Communist government, and their effort to save face, were willing to sacrifice thousands of lives and to hell with everybody else, but we're not going to let ourselves be embarrassed. And then, so they would downplay any figures, or say, oh, it's not an epidemic, it's just like the flu and blah blah blah, it's nothing to worry about, move along folks, right? Because
Right,
they're worried about the bottom line, or the dollar, or whatever have you, or how it would make the government look.
right,
Right? It would embarrass them.
right,
They were more worried about being embarrassed than they were about the lives involved.
right. Well, and their
Yeah.
economic, like,
Well,
money
yeah,
as well.
and then once shit hit the fan, and it was like, okay, boys, it's way beyond this now. like
Right,
you know, like your saving face is secondary to the rest of the world's health. Then they started kind of backpedaling a bit, and the last thing you heard is, oh well, maybe our statistics were 50% higher. Well, I call bullshit. I'd say probably add a zero to whatever they're telling you, and that'd probably be more accurate.
right, right. Yeah, crazy. So what
Yeah.
else is there going on out there as far as like stuff
Well, they
around?
locked down another city out there, that apparently there was another outbreak this past week. So there's
What?
another city on lockdown. So it's not just that one city in Wuhan that's locked down, or was locked down. Now it's another city
Oh,
of like
really?
a million some odd people. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So there's another
That's
city
why we
on
get him to
lockdown.
do the deep dives.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's just it's just crazy, right? And then everybody's trying to push to, like, I get it. Everybody's got cabin fever. People are sick of this. They want things back to normal, but like, shit takes time to work its course. You know.
Yeah. Do you think there's something behind the way the government here is running things? Like as far as North America, US, Canada?
Well, I did kind of get a kick out of, like, the military. The Canadian Forces was, giving people lots of advance warning, saying you're going to see a lot of military traffic around, because they had that giant exercise they do every so often called Maple Resolve. And that involves like us and a bunch of our allies, and doing like a big military exercise for like a month and a half. And then because of the corona, they canceled it. So all the vehicles are all going back to their bases by train and truck and whatever have you. And then people were flipping out like, "Oh my God, it's martial law!" It's like, no, no, no. It's just shitty circumstances, and and here we are. This has been almost a month now since that announcement, and I'm not seeing troops running down the street or anything. So that's kind of downplays that one, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Well, because I
Like,
know they've
granted,
looked at getting on people, like getting the military ready,
yeah,
like on standby, right?
yeah.
Like as far as that, they're ready to go if needed.
Well, they already are. Like they're using military people to go into old age homes for where the workers weren't showing up to work. So they're using the military right now to go into old age homes, help people out, right? Like change bedpans, sheets, that kind of thing, whatever, whatever to kind of take the pressure off, so that way the nurses, etc., can actually focus on the patients.
Right. Right. So in your mind, this is just a virus, an epidemic. There's
Yeah.
nothing like really devious behind it. There's nothing.
No, the devious part is what they're going to do when you're all distracted with the friggin' COVID. that's that's the devious part.
That's the other half of it, right? Like the shit they're getting away with right now. Have you heard anything? Anything come down the pipeline on that?
Well, there's plenty all around the world. Mostly, what you got to watch out for is any laws that they're going to try to pass without what's called a sunset clause. Like usually, when you have a law in reaction to any kind of emergency, it always has like sort of like the fine print or the caveat underneath it, and it's called a sunset clause. The idea being that they'll pass this law for a certain period of time, like say 6 months, and at the end of that 6 months, they'll sunset it, that it'll go away.
Right.
But the problem is there's a lot of different governments all around the world trying to pass these surveillance bills and things like that to like track people that might be infected, etc. So it's under the auspices. It's under the idea. I'm trying to avoid the 3-syllable words there.
Thank you.
Thanks, we appreciate that.
Well, it's just funny, because we just talked about that before the show, right? But yeah, so under the idea of trying to protect people, the biggest concern is that these laws might not have sunset clauses, so that when this whole thing is over with, now these various governments have these emergency powers that now become regular powers.
Right. Well, and that's the big worry, because now they can really say, like, well, we're doing it for everybody's safety.
Yeah.
And people will buy into that, right? Out of the fear.
Well, they did after 9/11. That crap's still with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's for sure. I mean, that's always the way it goes, right? I mean, the government uses shit like this to get policy pushed and all that. Like, I know when the funding in the U.S. was going through, the Democratic Party tried to say, well, we'll put out this money, but to do that, you guys have to agree to all this. And then they put a bunch of agenda items on that agreement.
Yeah, riders, they call them, yeah.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with protecting people. They just wanted to push it through. So basically, you want your money, then you're going to agree we're going to push this through.
Yeah, well, thankfully though, for the Americans there, that their current regime there said no, because they tried to push through all this anti-gun legislation there from Pelosi, et cetera, to add as riders. So they were going to have all these anti-firearms things and all this. It's like, well, what the hell has that got to do with COVID?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's just like here in Canada. Like initially, Trudeau tried to have something where he would have unlimited say and ability to spend and raise taxes, etc., with no oversight for till 2025 or whatever it was, right?
Right.
And the opposition parties went, no, wait a minute, that's bullshit. We're not going to let you do that. So they had to go back to the table and everything, and then say, okay, we'll give you emergency funding and stuff, but we're not giving you those abilities to just make arbitrary decisions and raise taxes, etc., without consent of the opposition, etc., or the remainder of Parliament.
Right. So
oh God, they've been trying. They've been trying
for sure. So what's your biggest worry, out of all this, now or after it's done?
The same worries I had after 9/11 with the Patriot Act and all these various so-called terrorism acts that don't do anything to protect you from terrorism, but they do everything they can to put you under the thumb.
Right.
That's what worries me.
Yeah.
Is that we won't, like, they'll change all these laws to do all this tracking of people and all the rest of it, and it won't go away, or there won't be sunset clauses. That's my biggest worry about the whole thing.
Right. Yeah,
and then people
change everything for sure.
Well, yeah, and it really bothers me. People are like, well, if you got nothing to worry about, you got nothing to hide. It's like, well, you know what I got to hide? It's called my fucking privacy. You know, my person of being, like my ability to feel free in my own skin. You know, like maybe to some people that doesn't mean nothing, but we got a lot of blood and treasure spent over 200 years to make sure that could happen.
Yeah.
You know,
well, me and Greg have talked about that a lot, like on the show before, was surveillance and all that stuff and tracking and the fear behind it, right? And I mean, how far it is now, like how much you track now, you know, with everything.
Oh, and they want to even increase that now with the whole COVID thing, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Because that's going to save us from a virus. If they know every day when I'm taking a shit.
Yeah.
Right? That's going to help them, you know, keep everybody safe. So I don't know.
Well, that's what they want to sell you. Like, you know, and then there is some truth to it to a certain extent. Right? To a certain extent, like, okay, yeah, you shouldn't have a whole bunch of people getting together, like 30 at a time, all breathing on each other and whatever have you. But, you know, yeah, sure, I agree with that. Right? But if you're going to have these things, have clear and understood laws that actually have sunset clauses to them. So that way everybody knows the score. Everybody knows what's going on. Not this hidden backroom deal crap.
Right.
Because as soon as there's stuff behind closed doors, that's because somebody's getting screwed.
Yeah.
And chances are it's you and me and everybody else in the public.
Well, it's always us. It's always the public.
Exactly.
Let's get fucked. They ain't fucking themselves in those closed door rooms.
No, they're rubbing each other's backs and with money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Greg. What do you have there? I know I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Now, I know you and I have had some conversations there, Jay, you know, through Facebook and stuff like that on some fairly wild conspiracy thoughts and stuff like that. I brought up the thought of Bill Gates there with, you know, his ID 2020, you know, the implants and all this good shit. So we already know that my little theory is wild there, and to kind of explain it to everybody else, just so they're in on the inside story and an inside laugh, is my thought was because Bill Gates went to China back in the fall to go and discuss pandemic preparation and procedures of what to do should something break out. And according to the story, it had to do, or the virus of choice just happened to be coronavirus. And so now here's coronavirus here. Bill Gates has his vaccine there that he's going and working on producing, saying everybody needs to have this because, you know, this is what's going to make everybody feel better. But then at the same time, he's also got his ID 2020, which is that little grain of rice type thing, which is a full-on tracking system there that he thinks that everybody should get. And considering TikTok just came out recently to go and say that it's partially owned by the Chinese government there, so that they can go and track you, you know, and all this good stuff. So here's my whole thing. Bill Gates working with China to get everybody who's not on TikTok to get their little ID 2020 grain of rice in there. And they said, well, and one way to do it is to spread this coronavirus absolutely everywhere. We'll give everybody a vaccine to prove that you've got the vaccine. You get this little ID 2020 grain of rice embedded in you, and then everybody can know that you're good to go just with a simple scan. You know, and now we're going to be able to track absolutely everybody. And if you don't have it, then you get hunted down and exterminated. You know.
Well, it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But what it really is like you're talking about three actual separate conspiracies, and not even theories, because they're, you know, we can find the public documents on them very easily. But it's like trying to put the square peg into the round hole. Right. So there's truth to all those things that you're talking about. Yeah. But they're not necessarily directly related. But I think what it is because of the times that we live in, people are like, oh, holy shit. And people are looking for stuff now. And then it's not necessarily a direct correlation. But with the ID 2020, Bill Gates is pushing it. That is true. And yes, you are right. It is a microchip that they're looking to insert into people that the idea behind it, what they're telling people is, oh, well, people don't necessarily have ID, especially poor people in small countries, and this would go a long way to helping poor people because then now you don't have to carry a passport and blah, blah, blah. So when you go to get medical, like, so little Jimmy Udugu in Uganda there out in the back country, when he walks like friggin' 3 days there to get into the capital there to get some ID or some government help or whatever, some services that he needs, that, you know, he might not have like the living conditions that would be conducive to him hanging around with a whole bunch of paper. Like, maybe he lives in a floodplain or something.
Yeah.
So the idea being that, well, if he's got his ID on him all the time, all he has to do is scan his arm and then he's good to go. But my problem is, historically speaking, all these so-called philanthropists and things and all these, the super rich, that as soon as they start saying, oh, we're doing this for the poor or doing it for the children, no, you're a bunch of goddamn eugenicists there, and you're looking to friggin' cull the useless eaters kind of thing, right? No. Like, if I was anybody in Uganda or anywhere else, I'd be like, not just no, but hell no.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one part. Again, no, not necessarily like. There's a lot of the evangelicals that are really pushing that story here in North America. There's no direct correlation because nobody's pushing ID 2020 in North America or any Western countries that I'm aware of. They're pushing it more for the third world, but you got to be your brother's keeper, like sometimes, like So if anything, I'd be like warning people over there, saying, don't fall for it. It's a trap.
Yeah.
Now, what was the other part there, Greg? So that's the ID 2020.
Yeah, and you got TikTok
There's two
there.
other parts. TikTok, yeah, we looked into that because you and I were talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just like any other company that's Chinese, it's owned by the People's Party of Communist China. Like, it's, and then the thing is, all of their companies, if somebody from the intelligence directorate comes to any one of their companies, they can't just say no, because there is no constitution to protect those companies for any kind of freedom whatsoever. So if any of those companies are approached by somebody from like their equivalent of the CIA or whatever, and they say, yeah, we need you to do this or give us this, you hand it over.
Yeah.
There is, because there's no private ownership there. Like, Apple here could say, no, screw you, we're not doing that. That's our customers. So they could tell CSIS or CIA or FBI or whatever to go pound salt because they're protected. In China, that same company is not protected. As a matter of fact, if they tried to say no, all of a sudden, next thing you know, oh, your kids are in the concentration camp and they're waiting for their mom and dad now. Like, so that's the problem with outfits like TikTok and stuff that are owned by Chinese companies.
Right.
It might not be directly owned by, like, their equivalent of the CIA or whatever, or the People's Liberation Army or whatever, but the chances of abuse are very high.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, like, as I said, the one story that I heard, not only is it owned by them, but they are monitoring absolutely everything through TikTok, like your keystrokes and all that stuff there. That was one of the stories that I had heard.
Yeah, as far as I've heard from anybody I know that's like any techie types that I know of, I haven't heard anything yet about that it being a keystroke logger or anything like that yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's and then there's there's a lot of companies out there too that are like open and public companies, like not for profits, etc., that do take programs and they do run through them to see if there's any script in the code of the base program, and I haven't heard anything that way yet. But that's not to say, though, that there isn't any back doors or whatever that can't be exploited. But more so, even with that, I think it would be more of a sweep of who in TikTok, who has TikTok that works in a laboratory somewhere, right?
Right.
Or who has TikTok that works at a defense installation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the scary part. It's just like on Facebook when you see those that game of what are you going to look like in 30 years, or who do you most look like?
Yeah.
Well, the information and things that you provide to those little groups is quite a lot. Like, people worry about the invasion of privacy. Well, stop playing those fucking games and doing those stupid quizzes, because you're giving us so much information. And then on top of that, those have been tracked back. And it turns out like more than half of them are actually like Russian troll farms and Chinese troll farms. And what they're doing is using it for intelligence gathering.
Yeah.
And they're also using it for credit card fraud and things like that too.
Well, yeah,
so,
like, especially when you got those, the quizzes there. Oh, so, where were you born? What was your childhood friend? And then it turns out, like, folks, think about this for 5 seconds. These are all the same questions that you're asked when you forget your password for your bank.
That's exactly it. And that's what I'm saying. They're using it for credit card fraud and everything else. It's a big fish. It's a fishing expedition, and we're all jumping on it gladly. Like, oh, look at 30 years. Oh, where's my bank account?
Yeah.
Like, come on, wake the fuck up.
Oh.
Stop playing those stupid games,
Yeah. So the other part of the theory that I've been working on there, right, was because apparently Bill Gates did go to China and did the whole let's prepare for a virus thing.
Well, Bill Gates is definitely helping China out because it's money. China will wipe Bill's ass with $1,000 bills to talk to him for half an hour, right? Like Bill is like the Walt Disney of computers, like, like really he is. Like he's like you couldn't talk to anybody better for a couple hours. Like there's companies that pay Bill literally thousands of dollars to talk to him for an hour.
Wow.
Right? Because he's a smart guy and he knows what the hell he's doing. That's why. And then
maybe he will come on the Nate and Greg's World podcast there for free, just because. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, maybe he would. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But the problem is with a lot of those billionaire people. I don't know what the hell it is. Like, is it maybe the money goes to your head or whatever? But they all seem to think all of a sudden, because they got a whole bunch of money, that they can solve the world's problems, and and then they all of a sudden are manager of men in society. It's like, well, no, just because you got the money, it just means like life's comfortable for you. It doesn't make you a goddamn genius.
Well, it's like all those celebrities and stuff like that, going and providing all the advice. I'm a singer. My song's on the top 40, and so you need to listen to what it is that I have to say about this political decision. Like fucking Alyssa Milano there. Fuck.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, listen to the Dancing Monkey. Like, come on. Yeah. Like, I'm more worried about who's the organ grinder.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Who's the one grinding the organ while the monkey dances? That's the guy you got to worry about.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. They do use celebrities as to push agendas and sell it to people.
Well, just going through my my public relations course, they've been going and saying, look, like if you can get a celebrity spokesperson to, talk about your product and stuff like that, it's the best thing to do. And I fully agree. It is, because for some reason people want to listen to fucking celebrities. Like,
absolutely,
they're special or something, And I would much rather get somebody that, is one of the, the grunts on the ground, talking about, look, this is my company. This is what I'm doing, like it might be a little bit harder to get that information out there because you don't have that celebrity backing you. But at the same time, at least it's truthful. They're not just being paid off.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Like an actual endorsement, not a paid actor.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's the difference, though, is you're an objective thinker, though. And unfortunately, most of our brothers and sisters are not objective thinkers.
No.
They're emotive thinkers, right? So they, like look, celebrity A is selling this. If I buy product A, then I'll be like celebrity A, or they've been doing it for a long time.
That's not the way it works.
Yeah, exactly. Eh? I don't look like Alyssa Milano. I've been buying her stuff for years.
You talk about all the worries of like tracking and stuff. Have you been following what Elon Musk is doing right now with all those the Skyline?
No, I have not actually. With Elon Musk? No, like I know Elon. Like he does that. Like Elon's got his fingers in just about everything.
But he's got this new Skyline, I think it's called, project, where he's putting up like tens of thousands of satellites in like almost like
the
a
micro.
blanket.
Okay, sorry. Yes, the micro satellites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so he can like literally it connects the entire world.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah,
how is
and he
that?
wanted to do like free Wi-Fi for the world too. Like he's kind of
Well,
like a
that's
mix.
how. But I think that's the dance. I think that's the dancing monkey part. Like, oh, it's so that we can all get free Wi-Fi, and everybody
Yeah.
be like, well, I'm on fucking board then, free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But like, what's the thought of like an entire like blanket over the earth of these little satellites that look like spaceships flying everywhere?
Yeah. Well,
You know?
there is one big difference though. Elon Musk's a public company. You know what I
Right,
mean?
but
We can crack open the books anytime. You and I could raise $10,000 and do a class action lawsuit just for the hell of it. You know, and we could get all of the records and everything on that. The lawyers that have a field day with it. Whereas when it's the government doing it, which they do, we should be more worried about that because then they have different clauses where they can hide it.
but you don't think the government?
Elon can't hide it. He's a public company.
You don't think there's parts of this though that are government driven?
Uh,
This to happen?
no, for sure. Like I like the problem with Elon is he's like part Iron Man and part Nikola Tesla. You know, so
Right.
he's a little bit kooky and has some good ideas to help the public on the Tesla part of it. But the bad part of the Iron Man is Iron Man. He's a fictional character, but he made his money from weapon sales.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
so,
Well,
and
that's
then
what I
that's
mean. Like,
yeah. It's a double-edged sword. It always is with technology.
because what are the capabilities with that number of satellites everywhere, watching everything all the time?
Yeah. Well, we have that already. Like even when I was in the forces there, like we used to know the regular progress of Russian satellites. Oh, it's 1425. Look up, Cosmo 265's watching us. Look up, everybody, and wave.
Right.
You know, like we actually knew the window paths of like Soviet satellites, or Russian satellites now, right? But
Right.
you know, like
Well, and
so that's the thing. Like he can have all those micro satellites, but it's like I said, he's a publicly traded company. It's easy to find out anything on it.
yeah.
A little harder on the government end of it. But yes, you are correct. Like that should be cause for concern for what he could do, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think there's any stopping it. But I don't
No,
think
so
you can get that number of satellites up in space without governments backing you, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
For
yeah,
sure.
well, yeah, because it is there are laws in place, etc.
Yeah.
Through different international conventions and things that he has to follow those laws. An interesting part of that, though, I guess Trump. I can't remember if it's just the past few months or whatever, or just the beginning of the year, that he actually decided to say it's a free for all for the moon and the rest of the solar system for private companies.
Well, he's got Space Force.
Well, yeah.
He's got that shit wrapped up there.
Yeah. Space Force. Yeah. We'll have to wait out and see how that's going to fly, right? No pun intended on that, but I just found it interesting that he privatized the moon and Venus and everything else. So, what's Musk's next plan? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm still planning, even after, we did our one podcast there where I was talking about how I want to go on the trip to Mars there. It just so happened I ended up seeing
you're one. You're saying you're willing to do the one way.
Yeah, do the one way. Fucking, it'll be great. But then I watched a bunch of YouTube videos with like apparently some smart people that told me what would happen to my body in space for that long, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll still go. But,
you mean where you'll have osteoporosis by the time you land on Mars?
Yeah. It won't be able to stand on Mars because my body just won't be able to take the weight. But
look what we're doing. Look what we're doing to our bodies here.
True.
Yeah.
What's the fucking difference, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think you'd be all right though, because Mars has like something like a quarter of the gravity of Earth or something like that. Like it's or half gravity, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And as long as you do what the astronauts do, like they're on the exercise machines, like so I know that'd be a little hard for you, but
It would be, that's for sure.
Maybe if Nate was along for the ride to yell at you and be your coach there on the way to Mars, you'd be okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I just want to jump back, getting back into some of this coronavirus stuff here. So we quickly discussed my little fucking theory that I had that apparently isn't uncommon. A lot of people seem to be putting all those puzzle pieces together like I did, which, isn't quite the puzzle that we were looking for. But what are some of the craziest conspiracy theories that you've heard about this coronavirus?
Well, it ties into your ID 2020. The crazy one was that the coming the coming inoculations against COVID are going to contain some kind of microchips, etc. And I'm like, oh God, please, like, really? Like, remember I told you before how paranoid you want to get?
Yeah.
Well, that's getting like tinfoil tube fucking territory there.
Okay. Well, why is that way?
Well, for one, the cost for one inoculation to have anything like nanobots essentially is what people are talking about.
Yeah.
And then not to mention there's a thing called the liver and the heart and the spleen and all these other things that all that blood would filter through, that you'd have to give people regular injections all the time. Whereas the whole idea behind an inoculation is it does go to those organs. Right. So that way it changes cells, etc., does what it needs to do to your immunization system, etc. Now, if you go putting microchips in there, well, guess what? You're either going to kill the guy, or it's going to get filtered out by the spleen and the liver and all these other organs that you have that are made to filter out foreign bodies.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Just basic biology and science excludes that.
Not only that, but why would they give a shit about what 99% of the population is doing on a regular basis? Like, that's always been my whole issue with chipping people.
Yeah.
Like, I know the government doesn't care what I'm doing.
Well, so, why would they bother chipping you when we will actually pay to be chipped by carrying these fucking cell phones with us?
Yeah. Well, that too.
Well, they're making money off us doing it right now. Why bother injecting you when I'll go pay $1,000 for a fancy cell phone?
Right.
Who needs to force you to do it? Hell, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah.
We're doing it right now.
We're not important enough anyways. What the hell do we have to offer? Information.
No, but that's just it. Is they already are tracking you, because anytime they need to track you right now, no, they don't. They're not going to waste the time and resources if they ever need to. Oh, look at that, Nate, Greg, Samsung 125732B. Turn it on.
Yeah.
Take a look at your phone, eh? Holy shit!
Yeah. How did you know?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like that's all they need to do now.
Yeah.
Why the hell would they inject you? They don't need to. You carry a cell phone.
Yeah.
Now most cars now they got on-spot GPS.
Did you see that crazy video about the what's actually causing the coronavirus is the G5 network coming online?
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, and then they show you the map saying, look at the spread. It's the same as the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Well, I could show you a Taco Bell map, and it's the exact same thing, too. So
that was the craziest one I heard, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, too. Yeah, but, if you look at a map of Taco Bell or Rona or Home Hardware or any other place where you got a population, you're going to see the same results as the map. Yeah.
They're essentially saying that this new 5G microwaves it takes or whatever to run that platform, some people's bodies can't handle it. Like their immune systems fight it. Right?
But I don't know why. I don't know why it would. It's no different than an AM or FM radio. Like maybe there's that 1 in a billion people when you turn on FM radio, they freak out. Okay. There's that 1 in a billion people that are allergic to the sun.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they try to do is link like when AM and FM radio came out and they linked it to a virus at that time.
Yeah.
And all this, right? They had it. I don't even know the dates for sure of all that shit. So I can't say.
It'd be like, 1918, 1920, something like that.
Yeah. So they were saying that.
There was that one map. They're not the map, the one legend there that went and said, yeah, 1G came out at this date here, this virus showed up.
Yeah.
2G, this virus. 3G, this virus. And it just kept going
Yeah.
on and on. They had that link going together.
But they don't. But what they won't show you though is, okay, how many viruses came out in between those different Gs?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, how come those viruses weren't caused by that? You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's a false causality, right? Or
Yeah.
correlation. Correlation is not causality, etc. Right?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Like that's the problem that's it's a real kicker in my world of being the conspiracy guy is I spend half my time disproving a lot of this crap because it's like I feel like I yell into the wind sometimes because it's like, man, you guys should be worried about this, this, and this, and then these people come up with this harebrained, crazy ass shit with like zero attribution to it, and it's misdirection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, don't worry about that real life shit. Like worry about this crazy stuff. It's like, well, no, man, you guys putting the cart before the horse, etc.
Yeah.
Now,
What do you
on the conspiracy theorist side, especially with going with these coronavirus conspiracies and stuff like that, do you get more of a kick out of disproving certain conspiracies or proving certain conspiracies?
Well, obviously proving them, because when you're disproving them, it's a waste of my time and resources. But you got to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because the whole reason we do the conspiracy stuff is to help the public, right? Like, I don't make any money off it. We're a not for profit. Like, there's no money going into my pocket. I'm not Alex Jones hucking miracle fucking cures and all this other bullshit boner pills and whatever have you. Like, I don't have an agenda of any kind. I'm just trying to get, like, mostly I'm trying to find out the truth for myself, and then I'm dragging along a whole bunch of people with me. Saying, yeah, here guys, here's what I found.
Yeah. Perfect.
Have you looked into just another quick one. Have you looked into what's going on with Russia and the US right now? I've noticed a lot of these hidden stories that are out there with them intercepting like different jets, planes, boats.
Oh, you're talking about where they're stealing each other's supplies for like masks and things?
No, well, there was that, but there was also, I've seen a couple articles over the last couple of weeks of like Russian plane being intercepted by U.S. fighter jets.
Yeah, that's they call that the black. Yeah, that's the Backjacks and the Black Bears. Those are like what it is they got neighbor pulled in. There's like Russian nuclear bombers, and what they do is they test the different airspaces of NATO partners, like all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and what this is Putin trying to put Russia back on the map to say, we're still important, we're still a power, watch out for us, kind of thing. Like, they're trying to get some respectability, plus like show the folks back home saying, look, we're still poking the eagle in the eye, kind of thing.
Right. But there's no like moves being played there or anything like that.
Just the same moves that have been played for the last 50 years,
Yeah.
Well, because I know, like with like the Russian Bears and stuff like that, they're big bombers coming over the top and stuff like this. It was once a year you'd hear about it in the news. Oh my God, this Russian plane came by, and
you didn't hear about the other 30 times.
Yeah, because I worked up in North Bay there when I was in the military.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were up there, you would have heard it all the time.
Now, like I didn't work in the radar installation itself, but we were told all the time, don't worry about that. They do it at least once a month to come in, show up. Our fighters go up. They're like, hey guys, how's it going? Okay, turn the fuck around, go away. Cool, have a good day. We'll see you next month. And they just keep doing it. But it's like when the news is slow, let's fucking throw this out because it's scary.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. It's a slow news day, so let's throw out some whatever. It's just like when they tell you Mrs. Smith cat had 12 kittens and one of them had 3 legs. You know what I mean? It's a slow news day. They're just throwing some stuff out. But just for the audience, so they know, the nuclear threat is not over. It's still there. Like, It's maybe not as scary as it was in the Cold War, but in other ways it is scarier. You should probably look into it. With what it is when the Russians send this stuff up is they're testing our response time. Yeah, what we don't hear about is, the times our B-52s and I use ours colloquially, as NATO.
Yeah.
But you don't hear all the times that we're sending like recce patrols in Azerbaijan or whatever, within 500 meters of the Russian border, or you don't hear about our bombers and stuff and B-2s and B-52s and all that testing the waters near the Black Sea, right? But we do the same crap,
Right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It just makes for better press to, oh, look how bad the Russians are, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
But we're protecting you, so believe in your government.
That's right. If we can track you 24/7.
Yeah. We're more worried about. Well, that's the irony is the governments, the West, are more worried about the people than they are the Russians. That tells you a lot, right there. That should tell you something.
Yeah. I know on your webpage there, and it's evilvonscary.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, make sure you check that out. You've got a lot of stuff going on right now with the coronavirus and stuff like that. What's probably the biggest conspiracy that you're working on right now with the coronavirus?
Just the how the misinformation is being handled is the next article I'm working on for the website. The day-to-day for the Evil Von Scary stuff, to find out kind of what we're into right at the moment. The best bet would be to go to Evil Von Scary fan page on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or to check out Evil Von Scary on Twitter. LinkedIn maybe the odd time, but mostly probably the Facebook will be I guess we consider our open debate. We invite anybody to post anything. The only thing I ask is that I don't want to hear anything anti-Trump, anti-Obama, anti-anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to keep it neutral, and you can put anything on there, but I just don't want to hear anybody disparaging anybody else. I won't put up with that shit because it's we're here to try to unite people against the real enemy, not divide each other, which is sort of what's going on now with all the people picking sides for a bunch of political talking heads, and I think it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
But sorry, I know I kind of did the Trudeau thing to you there and used a word salad and danced around your question. But currently with coronavirus, more so we're just trying to sift through the BS, get people the actual here's the truth of it. But the article I'm working on currently with that dovetails into that. It's not directly that. More so how we're being all the disinformation and a lot of it's just being spread by ourselves.
Yeah.
Ourselves being the regular John Q public. When people were talking about Trump saying he told people to drink bleach. Well, I watched that video of
so did I.
Just said that, and I'm like, he didn't fucking say that.
No.
What he was asking, from what I understood from it, was he was like, well, what if we could develop a thing that you a nasal spray or whatever that you could just inject or whatever? What if we could get something made like that works that way? He didn't say go out and get a jug of fucking bleach and drink it.
No, he definitely didn't. But he also said it he was thinking while he was talking.
Yeah,
one of those. I do that a lot.
You can't do that as a politician.
No, and we all do that, right? And I do it a lot.
Yeah.
Where something comes out of my mouth, I'm like, holy fuck, did I really just say that? That's not what I meant to say, right? Because I watched the video as well, and I laughed because when he does turn to the guy and says something, it makes it sound like he's asking, "Is there a way that we can ingest
something like that?" Yeah, well, that's exactly what he's doing. He's asking.
No,
the guy,
he said that. Though he said he should have said something like that, but he said that whatever the agent in the fucking whatever, right? But he did say, is there a way we can figure out to ingest that, right? So it's just, he wasn't saying, like you say, he wasn't saying go out and buy Lysol and start fucking drinking it.
Yeah.
right? But it just came out funny. But people took it seriously, and they're like, "Our president."
Oh well, yeah, and they don't need an excuse either. They hate his guts down there. Eh? The media there, holy crap!
The whole coronavirus is that guy's fault, according to those people. Like they just bash him every day. It's like, if you're actually the one having to stand up and run, first of all, he's not coming up with anything on his own.
Yeah, he's got a team of people that.
Yeah, he's depending on the smart people to say smart shit to give him to tell the public, right? Yeah. It doesn't always work out, but it's not him, right? Yeah. Nobody could have seen this coming or would have believed it. Who would have believed? Who would have said before coronavirus hit Canada or the US? Well, maybe Canada, it's a different devil, but the US, any president that would have been in the US at any time, if somebody came to them and said, listen, there's this virus, you need to shut the whole entire country down right now.
Yeah.
They would have told them all to go fucking pound salt.
Yeah.
No president's going to do that. Right? So all this stuff they're putting on him and putting it, like, I'm not a huge Trump lover, but at the same time, it pisses me off when people put things at somebody and try to put all the blame on them over stupid shit.
No, you're absolutely correct. Sorry, that was for somebody else.
Yeah.
But well, that's the thing. Like Trump could cure cancer tomorrow, and they'd still blame him to say he was trying to make money off it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Trump says drink water. Oh, he's trying to tell you to drown yourself. You know? Yeah. Like there's nothing that guy could do now that they're not going to jump all over him for. No. And what kind of ties in with what you were saying there with the Russia and China conspiracy and things like that. Another proven, like, for a fact, like not just the mainstream media trying to bullshit you, is Russia and China are also they watch our news. They have people that are paid to watch our fucking news and troll our Facebook pages and stuff. Yeah, they do, because and we do the same to them, right? But they're just better at it, right? Because they know people here are more reactionary, right? Whereas the Russians are more paranoid, so they don't believe everything they read or see. Whereas here we're not paranoid enough. But there's a lot of that stuff, like a lot of deliberate disinformation. Like China, remember in the news there not long ago, China was saying, "Oh, the U.S. military brought it to Wuhan and then released it in Wuhan." The Chinese know it's bullshit. Otherwise, there'd be hydrogen bombs flying over here right now, right? They know it's bullshit, but it's enough to muddy the waters of public opinion to try to sway things. And then when people are jumping all over the whole, like, oh, Trump said drink bleach, well, I'll bet you the Russians help push that agenda because they're like having a field day with it. They're like, oh, look at this, they're all tearing each other apart,
Yeah. Well, like now, one of the things that I heard or saw was China is actually putting up news reports and stuff like that and sending it to the Middle East, like in particular Saudi Arabia, going and saying that this is a U.S. thing and that Saudi Arabia should be careful of what they do and all this good stuff.
Oh, of course they're going to say that. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Like, sow dissension amongst your allies and your friends and your family, right? Like that's as old as cave tribe fighting cave tribe D.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lothar of the hill people versus Dogra of the cave people. You know what I mean? Like that's as old as time, man. Like, like the first casualty in war is the truth, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But, so, that's no surprise there.
No.
Happens all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, when we were talking offline there earlier this week, you had mentioned something about this QAnon thing, and I had to look them up because I'd never fucking heard of them, right? Because maybe I just don't get out. But, well, definitely not right now.
Yeah.
But can you explain what the fuck that is?
Okay, well, I could give you sort of the 5-second thing because we don't got 5 days for me to break it all down in the freaking crayon for you. But because I had to look into it myself too. Right? It's one of those things I heard on the periphery for a few years. And I kind of looked at it and I went, those guys are fucking cute, so I don't want nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah.
But there is some validity to what they're saying. Essentially, with the QAnon, it's a few layers to the onion, but the basics of it is most of them, not all, are Trump supporters. And from what I could see, it's kind of like almost like a weird little cult without the Kool-Aid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not trying to they're not trying to make a mass suicide or anything crazy like that, but it's like a kind of like a Trump follower cult, and they believe that there's some person or persons with like what they call Q level clearance in the States, like so somebody like near his elbow or near one of the State Department's people's elbows or something, and that they do these things called Q drops, where they leave little breadcrumbs kind of thing for you to follow. And then there's other people that are, kind of like a different stack in that little pyramid that help you put it together. And then you figure out these secret messages. And allegedly, Trump sends these secret messages through Twitter and or well, that time he had that press conference in Wisconsin, cutting the ribbon on the new dam. Well, when he said this, he meant this. And like it's like a multi-level marketing scheme mixed with wishful fucking thinking. Like it's however, like a lot of these people some of these people are smart people. They're well-meaning. They want to see what's best for their country. You can't blame them for that, right?
Yeah.
Like they're like I refuse to call them stupid or ignorant because they're not. But they just it's just like any other scam. People fall right into it. It's no different than the so-called leftists believing that Trump actually told people to drink bleach.
Right.
Like there's people that don't like Trump and they took that right on faith, right?
Yeah.
Didn't look into it. They just ran with it, right? And it's no different than QAnon people believing that Trump's sending them secret messages because they have faith in that guy. It fits in with their narrative, so they run with it.
Nice.
Right, and that's probably the hard part of conspiracy is don't let your own biases, lead you by the nose. Like you got to learn to put shit aside and go, you know what? Okay, that doesn't fit my worldview, but too fucking bad for me. You got to learn to do that when it comes to conspiracy stuff.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you wind up like Alex Jones, hating everybody that's Obama and whoever is not what he likes.
Right.
Yeah, and then that's where you wind up with people like that, right? Because this doesn't fit my worldview, so I'll ignore it or I'll blame it on the liberals.
Yeah.
Which is just as ridiculous, right? Like that's why that's why I'm really like nonpartisan. I think all political parties are bullshit and they all lie to you.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Maybe that's my prejudice. I don't know, but
yeah.
All political parties lie.
Yeah.
All political parties tell you what they want to tell you.
Yeah.
It's politics.
Yeah, but that's why you can't subscribe to any of this stuff. Like like the QAnon thing. Like it's interesting because their latest push is like they're really anti child slavery and child abuse and stuff, which I find commendable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I think that's great. Like we should all be concerned about that.
Yeah.
So there are some positive aspects of the whole QAnon thing. And that's one I find that is a positive aspect because now these people are looking for this kind of thing. Right? They are looking for those signs, and to me that's a good thing. But just don't go running off the cliff though with all the crazy ass shit, right? So I don't know. That's sort of my take on them. We do have some people that are fans and followers of the Evil Von Scary show that I do allow them to post QAnon stuff as long as they don't as long as they're not bashing Obama or calling Michelle a man or like disparaging other people. As long as they're not doing that, go ahead, throw it on there. I'm not here to be a gatekeeper or censor people. Mm-hmm. But if it's blatant discrimination or anything like that, you're out of there. You're done.
Yeah.
We're not putting up with that crap.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to be a gatekeeper. I don't want to create an echo chamber of just my opinions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? because
Yeah.
you're not going to learn that way.
No.
If you only listen to right wing stuff, well, guess what? You're only going to get that thing. If you only listen to left wing stuff, well, guess what? You're only going to get that.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys have covered that in your show. That's one thing that attracted me to your show. Is you guys have covered that to say, look, there's always different viewpoints. There's always different opinions, and you need to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest thing I respect about you guys.
Oh, that's awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Nate, you got anything else that you want to ask Jay?
No, my head's filled, man.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, well, Jay, so you've touched on it numerous times there, and I think your big message with this whole coronavirus conspiracy thing is probably the best thing that you should be doing right now is watching for what's going on outside of the coronavirus talk, all the different laws and shit that are going on. That'd be correct?
Exactly. Yeah, I think you pretty well nailed it. Yeah, like mostly like just worry about the whatever powers, like from whatever country you're from, worry about whatever powers your particular government or municipality or whatever have you decides to assume. Because when this thing's done with, and it will be at some point, you got to make sure that those laws that weren't there before are gone, or they're put in a folder somewhere to say only open in case of pandemic or plague or whatever. Otherwise, put that shit aside, right? So yeah, there are some laws that have come out, and yes, there are some good reasons for some of them, not all of them, but you have to decide what that is in your particular area. And then make sure when these pandemics and things are gone, those powers that you gave your particular governments or municipalities or whatever, that they're gone. Don't let them hang on to that stuff because they were only there for a purpose. Don't let it be the new normal. Mm-hmm. That's about all I got for that. But yeah, that sums it up.
That's a good message.
Perfect. All right. Well, Jay, I just want to thank you again for coming on and talking.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be making sure that we get you back on there a bunch of times over this next year because I've got time. And so I just start thinking up weird shit and I need you to fucking put me back in my place.
Well, I can lead you to water. You got to drink it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take the blue pill or the red pill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So, folks, make sure you check out the Evil Von Scary show at evilvonscary.com. As well as on their Facebook page and their Twitter. Check all that stuff out there. Descriptions and links will be posted down below. What are some of the conspiracy theories that you guys have heard? What's something that's rattling your brain? What's going on? Let us know down in the comments below. Don't forget, hit that subscribe and bell icon so that you can stay up to date with us and see what else is coming out. And until then, keep up with our other platforms, subscribe, share with your friends, get them involved, get them to subscribe. And we'll talk to you all later. Have a good one.
Later.
Why are you so offended?